Welcome, everyone. It has been such a year, and I'm so happy that we're here to finally celebrate together. And to start us off, I would love to share this message prepared for us by Sally Wentworth, President and CEO of the Internet Society.
Hello, I'm Sally Wentworth, President and CEO of the Internet Society and the Internet Society Foundation. I'm sorry I can't be with you in person today, but I am so glad to have this opportunity to speak to this incredible community of Internet Society alumni. As I think about all of you joining this call from around the world, people who've gone through our fellowship programs, our training courses, and our schools on internet governance, I see the embodiment of what we mean when we say the internet is for everyone. And what a year it's been for our alumni network. The growth in both the visibility and impact has been remarkable. Many of you have stepped up to lead WSIS working teams, bringing your expertise to shape global conversations about the internet's future. You've launched an alumni podcast that's sharing stories and insights from our community with the rest of the world. You piloted a new legal forum. You started working in multiple language for your newsletter and onboarding programs. And perhaps most importantly, you've demonstrated time and time again that the knowledge and connections you gain through Internet Society programs don't end when a fellowship or learning track concludes. In fact, it's just the beginning. This growth of our alumni network comes at a critical moment, and the stakes have never been higher. Around the world, we're seeing competing visions for what the internet should be. Some see it as a place that should be controlled and where speech should be suppressed. Others want to impose borders on the borderless internet, fragmenting the global network that has created so much opportunity. And without affordable, reliable connectivity for everyone, we're deepening the digital divide, leaving 2.6 billion people behind as the world rushes forward with AI and other transformative technologies. If we don't get that's by our work. Your work matters so much right now. As you know from our 2030 strategy, we have two ambitious goals: ensuring people everywhere have access to affordable, reliable, and resilient internet, and ensuring that everyone has an internet experience that is safe, secure, and protects them online. These aren't goals that we can achieve alone. We need all of you, alumni who understand how the internet actually works, who have networks of people spanning the globe, and who are committed to keeping the internet open and accessible to everyone. And we're investing in growing this community even further. I'm excited about our new community fellowship, the Peering Fellowship, and the NDSS Fellowship, which will bring more people into our network with specialized skills in advocacy, accessible and reliable connectivity, and cutting-edge cybersecurity research. Each of these initiatives will strengthen our collective capacity to build, defend, and promote the internet. The growing diversity of expertise in the alumni network will be critical to our mission. But here's what makes this truly powerful. You don't just support our strategy. You are our strategy in action. When alumni deploy community networks in their regions, you're advancing affordable connectivity. When you advocate for strong encryption or push back against internet shutdowns, you're defending a safe and secure internet. When you train the next generation of internet leaders, you are multiplying our impact exponentially. As we look ahead, the opportunities are immense. The conversations happening right now through WSIS Plus 20, the ongoing work to connect the remaining 2.6 billion people without internet access, the challenges of ensuring emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence benefit everyone. These are the defining issues of our digital age. And you, our alumni, are positioned to help shape the outcomes. So I want to thank you for your continued engagement, for staying connected to this community, and for the work you do every day to ensure that the internet is for everyone. I wish I could be there with you to hear about all the amazing work that you're doing. Please enjoy the rest of your gathering and know that we're incredibly proud of this alumni community. Together, We're not just imagining a better internet, we're building it. Thank you.
Awesome. I know that Sally wishes she were here as she shared, but I am so glad that we've been able to get such an amazing, awesome. Now I would like to invite John Quarterman to speak.
Oh, hi there. I'm John Quarterman. I'm supposed to talk about the next generation of internet leaders. What would I know about that? I am a hermit. I live in the woods. I mean that literally. 200 acres of longleaf pine forest my grandfather bought in 1921. I basically come out to paddle on a swamp to see the sunset, the moon rise, and bats fly out of cypress trees. Friday next week, come down and join us. Or to paddle on a river with a chainsaw to cut passage and then to collect water to find out what's the state of the water quality. I do this for Walls Watershed Coalition. That's two W's, WWALS.net, WWALS.net. I'm the Sewanee Riverkeeper trying to keep waters clean in 10,000 square miles of Georgia and Florida. No problem. But even in the back of beyond on the Withlacoochee River in South Georgia, you can't escape the internet. We didn't actually have any cell service, but one of the paddlers was a fellow named Kyle Kelly who makes his living by posting on Facebook and YouTube videos he takes of going on rivers to find fossils and antiques. He found an antique Coca-Cola bottle from 1935 bottled in Valdosta, Georgia. You can find him, Wild Kyle, that's K-Y-L-E, Wild Kyle. Tell me, who of you back in the early days of the internet thought that a college dating website that started in one college, Harvard, I went there, but that was long after I was there. Who would have thought a college dating site would end up having billions of users throughout the world and enough money to influence elections? I wouldn't. And I didn't. But it also at least provides a platform for people like Wild Kyle and a platform for stuff like walls.net. Okay, let's jump back a little bit. I suppose the thing that I'm most known for is that yellow book, The Matrix, Computer Networks and Conferencing Systems Worldwide. Okay, so I want to talk about market demand. Why did I write that book? Because people kept asking me, what's this network? What's that network? And I didn't know all the answers, so I kept asking people. And by the time we published that book, I had 200 collaborators throughout the world. Couldn't have done it without them. Couldn't have done it without some closer collaborators like Smoot Carl Mitchell and Tracy LeQuay Parker, who you know is in here somewhere. The other thing I was known for was graphs of the growth of the internet. Couldn't have done that without Mark Lauder keeping the data, and later collaborators from FidoNet and BitNet and EARN and EUNet. So collaborators everywhere. And then that led to not only how fast is it growing, but where are they? And once we got into DNS, you couldn't just look that up in a table. So that's where I started using Mike Muse's ping, UDP echo, to try to determine where they all were and then turning that into maps. And here I was asked to mention how the Internet Society gets into that. In 1993, I gave a talk on that at the Internet Society meeting in San Francisco. Thank you, Tony Rutkowski, in particular, for that opportunity. And that same year, I also gave a talk in Warsaw, Poland, at something called the Network Services Conference, which I thought was an ISOC conference. Maybe somebody from ISOC can confirm or deny. And with the collaborator, Gretchen Phillips, who I think is on here listening. And then again in 1994 in Prague, another ISOC conference. So ISOC was great for presenting this stuff and for obtaining more collaborators. Somebody's commented, collaboration is everything. Yes, that's one of my main points here. Okay, so 1993 was also a busy year for other reasons. I also gave a talk about this at Harvard. There, I mentioned Harvard at least twice. And jump back a moment to 1990. That's when the Secret Service raided Steve Jackson Games. If you're not familiar with that case, you're probably wondering, what does that have to do with anything? What does Steve Jackson Games do? It's not an online game. He makes board games. Boards, you move pieces around on it. But one of his employees was accused of stealing some files from Bell South. And the Secret Service didn't stop with just trying to arrest that guy. They took all the computers, everything, including the master of a game that was about to be released from Steve Jackson Games. Naturally, Steve sued, and in 1993, he won. In addition to attorney fees, he got $50,000, which was big money at the time. And silly me, he was picking my brains about how to run an ISP. And I thought he wanted to collaborate. No, of course, he wanted to start his own. So then we started our own, me and Smoot Carl Mitchell and some other people. This led to the Texas Internet Service Providers Association, TISPA, which led to an event later in the state capitol where the legislature had just decided it was going to levy, I think it was a 1% tax on all internet providers. And we're going, oh my God, we have narrow margins anyway. So we were having a meeting, and most of the people were saying, we need to have another meeting. I said, no. So I walked over and talked to Steve, which got everybody's attention because I knew we didn't get along at that point. And we agreed to put in some money and got everybody else to. We hired a lobbyist. He went down and talked to the state comptroller, I think it was, who said, oh, we didn't mean you guys. Problem solved. All right, so that all helped lead to the formation of Electronic Frontier Foundation. So who would have thought a board game manufacturer would lead to the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which has a lot to do these days. And also, why did I know Steve Jackson? Because of the local science fiction society in Austin, Texas, where we also knew Bruce Sterling, who is a science fiction writer. If you want to know all about the Steve Jackson case, read Bruce's book, The Hacker Crackdown. And of course, Bill Gibson would show up from time to time. He's famous for writing the book Neuromancer. If you don't know it, you will soon. There's going to be a movie about it. And that's where the name of the book, The Matrix, came from, and also the name later of the company we formed about internet pinging and mapping. I asked Bill if we could use it for that. He said, fine, I read your business plan. It's studded with nodes. That's what he got out of it. Okay, so the general point I'm getting at here is, and I would say this because I'm what's called a loose connector. It's best to collaborate and not just with people just like what you are or what you do, but with different people, form organizations of differently minded people. I'm guessing I'm well into 5 minutes. Am I correct?
Yes, but you can.
Yep, a little bit. Okay, so what I'm really getting at here is I don't really know who the new next generation of internet leaders are, and I don't think any of you do either. I would suggest don't just look at upcoming technical people or upcoming technical companies. Also look at things like who's been running the political campaigns that managed to win with small money donations from thousands or millions of people instead of taking money from billionaires. That's a market. Somebody figured out how to do that. Look at who's been organizing demonstrations with millions of people. I don't mean just in the U.S. Look at places like Nepal, Gen Z demonstrations. And here's one back to water quality and such. There's a thing called Know Your Rivers, which was invented by Savannah Riverkeeper. She hired some people to do it. And what that does is it collects together all sorts of information about rivers, water quality, rainfall, water levels, the wastewater plants in a place where you can readily see it in a graphical map, and pull out reports on it. Now, if any of you got more money than you need, you might want throw some money at that. We could use that supported for the entire state of Georgia and the entire state of Florida, for example. Why not all the states? Why not all the world? That's a new thing that occurred because of a demand. Our organization, we're still just doing it with a cobbled together spreadsheet, but there is a better way, which happened because of a need that I would not have predicted. Okay, in that one case, I didn't predict the need, but it was Savannah Riverkeeper. And right then, my laptop decided to glitch. Can you still hear me? Anyway, that was my point.
Okay.
That was my point. Look outside just the people most like you or the organizations most like you. Look at people doing new stuff that wasn't previously thought about. And they're both leaders in the sense that they're using the internet for new stuff and they're producing markets that are going to require technical adaptations to serve them. That's my point. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Thank you for inviting me, Claire.
Thank you, John, for joining us. For those of you who don't know the specifics, John was inducted this year into the Internet Hall of Fame, and we're very happy that he was able to join us today. Thank you, John. Oh no, the blur. Okay, the Matrix. If you find a link for it, could you share that in the chat, please, so people can find their way to it?
Will do.
Thank you, John. Awesome. Keeping this party going, we are now going to move into breakout rooms. I wanted to have an opportunity for you all to actually talk to each other. So what we're going to do is we'll split you up into breakout rooms. You'll have 5 minutes. And then after that, you'll go into another random breakout room with different people, and you'll have another 5 minutes there to speak with each other, learn about each other's interests, and we'll call you back when it's time. So on that note, let me double check.
Has anyone checked the waiting room? There was quite a few people while I was in there.
Yes,
Much larger.
the waiting room. So now everyone is just being admitted.
Okay, great.
Awesome. And I see some names. I see Jolie, Kia. Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Well, we're doing great. I think you mentioned my name. I am happy to be here. I wish you all the best in this role of convening. Maybe I put on my video.
Remind me where you're joining us from today, Kia?
Oh, I'm in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam.
Okay, awesome.
We working to restore some of the internet shutdown that we've had for the past couple of months. So yeah, getting back little by little. I'm not sure we'll be there fully. And a lot of platforms are not yet back online.
When did the shutdown start?
I think on the 25th of October, about 3 days before, 4 days before the election. Usually the politicians are worried that people will talk to each other and maybe use the internet to make decisions. I don't know. Yeah.
Really unfortunate. And Kathleen, I would love to know a little bit more about your background. So what part of the Internet Society community do you self-identify as?
I am a trustee on
Awesome.
the board. Yes. So I have,
I recognized your name. I just couldn't figure out where.
so I have the great honor of working with the other trustees and helping to advise the executive management for the Internet Society. And it's really our pleasure to be able to have that opportunity because the work of the Internet Society is so impactful and meaningful. And it's a joy to have that opportunity and see the work that's done. It's really incredible.
Wow.
You can get a glimpse of it through the social media postings and other places, but the work is just so impactful towards bringing people together, giving them access to the internet, advancing skill sets, joining communities, joining people across the world, enabling work to be done, which astonishes me that so many people don't realize the amount of work that's done. I'm also a former IETF security area director.
Oh, nice.
And yes, and I'm about to put something up on social media to hopefully help people realize some of the work that comes from the Internet Society. And it's just some pictures. I got to meet with a couple of the other security area directors yesterday because people are traveling for the U.S. Thanksgiving holiday.
Oh,
And so we got to have a nice breakfast and chat about all things internet. And one of them was Steve Crocker, who was the first AD, and then Jeff Schiller, who was the second AD. So it was really incredible. The work that happens, I think many people don't realize the reach of the Internet Society. It's just incredible.
It's almost just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much happens that goes on in local communities. It happens through our chapters. It goes on in the jungles and mountains and hard to reach areas of the world. And it's hard to sometimes there's so much good that happens. You want to share it all, but you don't want people to be in the good news tsunami. So you have to pick and choose what you post on social media or share at an event, because if you said everything, we'd be here for hours. But yeah, it's a really great opportunity to be here and work with all of these folks. And thank you for everything you do, Kathleen, with being trustee and the board. And on that, I think we have to go to a new breakout room. I'll see you all later.
Yeah, we were like left midway in the conversation, like, oh, counting down to 20.
Yeah, the same here.
We didn't have one of us was smart to keep a tab.
There, we just got through introductions.
I know.
We only had 3 members say something, and then the other 2, they were just beginning to introduce themselves before. We were talking about Canada and snow and time differences and articles that are written. We had fun.
Oh, I'm glad. I'd rather you guys have not enough time than have a lot of time just twiddling your thumbs and waiting for the breakout rooms to end. So I'll take it. I'll take it. Awesome. So I think we honestly don't have time for another breakout room because we have to go because the official event is going to start in 2 minutes. But if anyone has anything they would like to share that they learned in their breakout room from someone else, something they were surprised by.
I would just ask Preeksha to share her article with the whole chat, because I think
Yes, thank you, Dan. Do that.
Please do. Preeksha's
she shared with us that she's a journalist who this came out of her early career fellowship, which is awesome.
And this opens a door now. If you want to share links of the things that you've been doing, please put it there so we can all check.
I've put it in the chat. Thanks so much for that shout out, Dan. I'd love to know more about your work maybe later. Thanks, everyone.
Yes, Eduardo Tome.
Yeah, I think this like the first time in like 4 years I've been in this waiting list I've ever actually logged into an event. I wanted to say I was like very pleasantly surprised. I got a chance to talk to Yvette, actually working with a Connecting the Unconnected program, is just something I've been applying to in the past. So it was like very useful, and I would like to thank Claire for generating this space. I promise I'm gonna be back. I hope you enjoy the coffee, by the way.
Oh, great to hear from you, Eduardo, and thank you. That's very sweet. And the fun's only beginning. We still have some more that's about to start in about 2 minutes. So don't go too far, but if you need a cuppa, now would be a great time to do that. No, if it's your morning, God forbid you haven't had your coffee yet, make sure that you're all taken care of. Oh, thank you. Shout out to Dan for sharing the Cody link. It's very interesting work that we've become a part of. And if you're ever interested, take a look. If you're still interested, reach out, and I would love to find ways to get you involved.
So what's the Cody project that Dan is working on about?
It's a coalition of organizations across the internet type of thing, looking at the fact that when you try to get people online, one of the barriers is that a lot of the content's not available in their native language. So much of the content's available in primarily majority languages in different forms. So it's a project, it's new this year. We joined as a founding member from the Internet Society, but there were a bunch of other organizations there looking at different ways to do it. One of the first projects they're looking at is they're working on something that's interesting about what's the minimum data set that an AI LLM would need to go and do translations. And so there's a group that's looking at that to say so that way you could say less resourced languages, could you wind up getting enough to be able to able to use in translations. So we'll see. Interesting stuff. You can join. I think there's a link on there.
That's amazing, Dan. Thank you. This really borrows on some discussions we were having at the Youth India Internet Governance Forum about how language models can be more, or the internet in general can be made more multilingual. So this is great. I'm going to check this out.
Yeah.
So I can even share one resource with that.
Please do.
Yeah, shout out to our representation from India. We have a great alumni representation from India. So I love seeing when y'all are here. Welcome everyone to the general public global alumni event. We're so happy that you're all here. This is a once a year event that we do to make sure that we are able to not only celebrate all work our alumni have done in the past year, but to also take a moment, recognize what people who've gone above and beyond, talk about all of the impact that we've made, and also look forward to 2026 in this case, to see what people in the Alumni Network can look forward to. Some of you who have never interacted with the Alumni Network before or have never heard of us, and this is your first time with us, welcome, happy you're here. But you might be asking yourself, what is the Alumni Network? What do they do? What does it even mean? The Alumni Network of the Internet Society is a global community of Internet leaders who uses their skills and competencies to ensure that the Internet stays accessible and safe for all. And if anyone was here for the last part of the session, you'll hear that Sally even mentioned alumni are, of course, part of our strategy, but in many ways, they're our strategy in action. We see from our side, there's things that we need to make sure happen for the internet to maintain its openness, its accessibility, and its safety. And we see every day the alumni who are taking what they learned from their program and going back out into the world and making sure that they're working hard for the internet that we want. In a more broad sense, our goal here with the Alumni Network is to deepen and expand the engagement of the Alumni Network to support the Internet Society's 2030 strategic goals. We're also looking to, continue cultivating the internet leaders that the internet of tomorrow will need. So in many ways, maybe the John Quartermans of tomorrow, and making sure that they are able to strengthen, support, and protect the internet's development. And we do this through multiple ways. We are continuously developing internet leaders. We're mobilizing our network to advocate for our 2030 strategic goals, both with us and in their own careers and private lives. And we're also always looking to actively engage our alumni in Internet Society's work. So that is working with our community, connecting them to our chapters, helping leverage their expertise where we might not have it so that we can all work together and collaborate, as John said, and do the important work. So some facts and figures about the Alumni Network. I think one of our best and strongest strengths is our diversity. And this Alumni Network, you can see on this graph, and I apologize for the numbers being small, we have 148 alumni in MENA. We have 77 in Europe, 93 in APAC, 63 in LAC, and 39 in North America. And altogether, we have over 100. We have 102 nationalities represented. And that is absolutely incredible when you think that we have just over 400. We have such a diversity of people. We have such a diversity of thought and contexts that help us really achieve what we want to achieve here. And moving forward, you can see that there are a plethora of programs that all feed into the Alumni Network. And if you do any of these programs and you complete it successfully, then you are invited to join us. And through here, you can see that we have programs that follow more on leadership, more on policy. If you're more of a technical folk, NDSS, Pulse, Peering, we have something for everybody. And altogether, as of my last count about 1 hour ago, we have 419 alumni. So we're here to celebrate. We're here to talk about what we did in the past year. And when I look back, there are 3 things that really stand out, that were really big lifts that definitely brought us up a step in terms of our maturity as a community. First one is we launched Internet Changemakers, which is our alumni podcast, which looks to teach about the past, present, and future of the internet using alumni expertise while also sharing some impact stories while we're at it. So there will be an opportunity to scan the QR code if you would like to follow. I am not afraid of a shameless plug, and I will do it. So there will be multiple opportunities to join, but it is a very interesting podcast. And if you are interested in everything trust and safety, our next episode comes out in 2 days. And our guest is none other than the founder of Craigslist, Craig Newmark. So it's a very good episode, and we hope that you'll take a listen. The second one kind of lends itself to that talk about Cody that we were talking about earlier. And we've really embraced multilingualism in the Alumni Network. So what does that look like for us? It means that we translated the newsletter that we send out every month into 3 languages so that all of our alumni members across the world, no matter what their language of preference is, can read it in either Spanish, English, or French. We also started offering onboardings in Spanish and French as well, so that we can have anyone come and join us no matter what their language is. Doesn't mean that they should not have access to the incredible benefits that we have here at the Alumni Network. And lastly, we collaborated to meet our 2030 goals. And that looks like a lot of different things. That looks like working with alumni to help update some of the biographies of Internet Hall of Famers from a couple of years ago to make sure that their bios can really show the human impact of their work. It means working with the community on advocacy and sharing and having them share policy development processes. It looks like making sure that expertise in the alumni network is used and leveraged within our work. So there are times when someone on staff will need someone from a specific place who has a specific background, and that person exists in the alumni network. And that kind of expertise that exists in the community is really what makes not only the alumni network, but the Internet Society as a whole shine. So now I would like to invite Preeksha.
Hi, Claire. Thank you for the lovely picture and the slide. Hi, everyone. I'm Preeksha. I'm an alumna of the Early Career Fellowship from 2024, from last year's batch. I believe it was the 4th iteration of the fellowship. Honestly, it's been a lovely journey for me personally, being associated with the Internet Society, seeing that I come from a very different background. I have a background in journalism and media studies, which otherwise may or may not be associated very easily with internet studies. I think I've had a hard time to also explain it per se. Whenever I say I have a master's in media governance or I work in the field, the usual reaction I get is, oh, wow, that's really cool. But I'm not 100% sure if the other person actually understands what that means. So the Internet Society Fellowship was something I came across through a friend, and I was very keen to find global relevance for the work that I was passionate about. With the internet taking so much in our lives, the media also globally is going digital. And me, as somebody who's interested in how it's governed, internet was a very important part of it. So working with the Internet Society, interacting with all of my colleagues through the fellowship, I could get exposed to a lovely community of digital defenders, of people passionate about the internet all across the globe. And B, I got exposed to, I think, a number of thematics around internet governance that I was also probably not aware of completely. I got to know of how satellite cables affect the internet, how smaller things like my high school computer science classes actually really need revisions, and I need to go back and brush up on those basics if I want to work on this team as a whole. It's been a lovely journey, and I think how the Alumni Network and how Claire, I think, has kept this journey going this last year. I've honestly not felt that the fellowship just ended. I felt I just transitioned into being a part of this community, all thanks to the lovely team at ISOC and definitely Claire. Because as people out there see you associated with ISOC, I've had so many people reach out that they want to be a part of the fellowship. I've been able to mentor a lot of applicants in helping understand how the process looks like and what benefits they will reap from it. And other than that, just keep learning. I think a lovely anecdote that I can share is very recently I had received one of the alumni newsletters. And I was just going through it, and I think, yeah, very guilty to maybe have missed some editions, but I'm so glad that I read that one. Because I just read that there was somebody called Ahita who runs this Youth Internet Governance Forum in India. And I was like, wow, that's some excellent work. And just went to LinkedIn. I connected with her. I saw her in the LinkedIn group. So it was very easy for us to establish that we're both alumni of the network. And she was like, oh, yeah, this is great. I'm so happy to talk to you. And you should definitely join us. They were having open for their applications for that fellowship during that time. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. I ended up applying. I ended up participating as a fellow. We met earlier this year in Goa in India for 2-3 days of, I think, an exhilarating experience where I could meet a bunch of people from across my country that are passionate about this theme. What the fellowship gave me was international exposure to global friends, to a community who care about it from across the world. And through that, I realized that, something that I need to know more about it in my own country. And that's how another alumni helped me. Just created something beautiful over here that was very happy and proud to be a part of. And the journey's just continued. I think fellows from this year, I was very pleased to have anchored the symposium for the Early Career Fellowship this year, where I was backstage with all my colleagues. There was Story, I think there was Claire, there was Raquel, all of them. And I was like, it was so strange. I was literally all jittery and nervous presenting last time. And this time I'm introducing everybody. The transition's been amazing. And there's literally nothing that you can possibly not make sense of or work on if you're a part of this community. The most beautiful, I think, part is, and that's something that I think I'll conclude with, is it makes you feel like you're a part of a larger group that cares about something. For the lack of a better word, maybe even a family. Because anywhere and everywhere, wherever I go and I say I'm an ISOC alumni, everybody just instantly connects. I think I see Vinayak over here, who's also an alumni, and I met him through a fellowship over here, and he just came to me and he started to make random jokes about how this makes sense or this doesn't make sense because we're both alumni of ISOC. And I was like, okay, so, this clicks. So it's just lovely. Everybody who hears that you're an alumni is very forthcoming to help. And I think that's what makes a lot of difference. Throughout my youth IGF fellowship as well, I remember there were a couple of staff members from ISOC, there were people in general. I could just very easily converse with them, talk to them, super approachable. And at the same time, I knew that Ayata herself, being an alumni, she was looking out for me. She was just like calling for me in lunch and, hey, these people are from ISOC. Do you want to meet the larger team? It just felt like you're all working together. It doesn't matter whether you're doing something else or you're specifically not employed per se. With ISOC, when you're a part of the community, you're a part of the community. It just doesn't matter. And Claire beautifully brings us all together, which I'm very grateful to her for. My work in general, I think, has found a lot of relevance globally thanks to the experience I have with ISOC. And I'm only looking forward to continuing it. I've been a part of a couple of alumni calls this year. One of them was, I think, to set the agenda right the next year, understanding what are our priorities and what we need. And Claire was literally making notes, I remember. And she sent them to me later as well because I had to drop off like 10 minutes early. And I told her, you remind me of what we discussed. A diligent email followed. And I have no doubt that she's going to actually be implementing a lot of these things as well. Having said that, I think there are so many people out there still from ISOC that I haven't met, haven't interacted with. And that just makes me hopeful of the fact that there are so many people who are passionate about the internet, about keeping it free, open, and secure for everyone. And I'm very pleased that my work is able to have relevance globally, and I'm able to grow constantly thanks to this community. So thank you for this opportunity for letting me share, Claire, and over to you.
Oh, Preeksha, you have me smiling ear to ear. I'm going to be sore after this one.
I'm so glad.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And I am just giddy that a newsletter highlight led to you joining at the Youth India IGF. And it's just an incredible story. Thank you for sharing, Preeksha.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. So now we are going to hear from someone else who would have loved to be here today, but unfortunately was not able to make it. And that is Chris Locke. He is the Executive Vice President and Managing Director of the Foundation. So here is a message from Chris.
Hi there, I'm Chris Locke, the Executive Vice President and Managing Director of the Internet Society Foundation. And it's fantastic to yet again be welcoming you all to a global alumni gathering. Apologies, I'm not there live. I'm actually on vacation this week. But it's great to see again how many of you come together to celebrate the work that you do, the support we can give you as the Internet Society, but far more importantly, the support that you can give to our community in the goals that they're trying to achieve. And there is no more an important moment than now to strive together to achieve those goals. We still have significant numbers of people who are unconnected, and a lot of you are doing massively important work on understanding how we connect people to a safe, secure, resilient, and affordable internet. And this work continues and forms a large part of what we do as an organization. Also, more importantly, we're entering a time at WSIS Plus 20 when the governance of the internet is yet again up for discussion. And whilst we hope and consider that the internet will continue to be governed in a multi-stakeholder way, by a broad mix of actors from civil society, academia, and industry. What we need to do is to ensure that that's the case. So the work you do as individuals is massively important, and that's why we've been very proud to support you in your careers through training and fellowships and the other activities that you've participated in with us. Your ability to advocate and argue for a fair and free internet for everyone is fundamental to us being able to achieve our work and to be able to drive our agenda forward. But far more importantly, and what you can do, but all we can do is security. On this call are many other alumni like yourselves and many other people who in their careers can support each other to promote a multi-stakeholder, fair and accessible internet. So please enjoy this gathering as you do enjoy all the gatherings. And as we get to the end of the year, far more importantly, look back and consider what we've achieved this year together and individually in your own lives and careers. And also, let's look into next year when we will have even more challenges to face and more opportunities to grab. And look at the alumni in this group and look at us as an organization as supporting you and consider yourself part of this family and part of this community. We will continue to support an open, secure internet for everyone, but we can only do that by working together. So thank you for coming together in this call. I look forward to being on the next one live. And please enjoy the fantastic speakers who are going to be speaking after me and the rest of the call. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. I know that you're in France, but we're waving from here. And we so appreciate you taking the time to speak to us. And now, a very important part of what makes the Internet Society's work is fundraising. So I would like to invite Kathleen Moriarty and Olufunke to please speak.
Good morning. Welcome. We're both very excited to be here with you today, and it's our honor to serve as trustees on the Internet Society for the Internet Society. And I'll hand over to Funke to give her introduction, and then I'll have a few more words.
Thank you, Kathleen. Hello, everyone, and thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here with members of the Internet Society Global Alumni Community. I can see from the interactions and even from the breakout rooms that this is a community with a shared belief in the power of an open, global, and trustworthy internet. My name is Olufunke Baruwa, and I currently serve as a trustee of the Internet Society, working alongside colleagues like Kathleen to help provide strategic direction and oversight to the organization. And like many of you, my journey with ISOC has deeply shaped how I see the internet, not simply as a tool, but as an essential infrastructure for human development, justice, learning, and opportunity. I write a weekly newspaper in West Africa. And today, for instance, which is the start of the 16 days of activism against GBV, and the theme for this year is on digital violence, I'm writing about how the internet has shaped that. Today, I want to speak with you about something both simple and powerful, and it's how each of you can play a role in the Internet Society's fundraising campaign and why your involvement matters now more than ever. Let me begin with this truth. The internet is no longer optional. For billions of people around the world, it is how children learn, how communities organize, how entrepreneurs earn a living, how activists like me mobilize, how citizens access basic services, and how families stay connected. Yet, even as important as the internet grows, the pressure facing the internet itself are becoming more intense and more complex. A third of humanity is still offline. That means billions of people are locked out of opportunity, information, education, and participation in the digital world. Those who are online themselves are facing growing safety risks, like I mentioned, digital violence against women and girls, from surveillance and censorship to digital violence and misinformation to lockdowns. And the people most impacted are often the most vulnerable. They're the women, girls, people in rural disability communities, young people, persons with disability, civil society actors, and those living in fragile or conflict-affected regions. We're also witnessing an alarming level of fragmentation. The very idea of a single, open, interoperable internet is being challenged by geopolitical tensions, by technological divides, and increasing efforts, especially by governments, to control, restrict, or weaponize connectivity. And perhaps most concerning of all is that trust is declining. When people no longer trust that the internet can, when they fear it instead of using it, the foundation of everything we have built begins to crack. Now, here's why I'm speaking to you today. You understand these issues better than most. You sit in this room, you are logged into this call, not just as graduates of an Internet Society program, but as people who have already given your time, your skills, your passion, and your expertise to strengthening the internet. You are engineers, you're lawyers, you're policy advocates, you're researchers, you're community organizers, entrepreneurs, educators, and technologists. You're the people who have organized local chapters, you've led projects and developed policy submissions. You are part of a global network committed to keeping the internet open, secure, reliable, and accessible for everyone. And it's important to remember that your own journey as an ISOC fellow or alumni did not happen by accident. It happened because earlier members, partners, and donors believed in the importance of investing in people like you. They believed that knowledge should be shared, that leadership should be nurtured, and they created the very spaces that shaped you, the fellowships. So the question is, will we do the same for the next generation? So this campaign is not just about financial contributions. It's about continuity. It's about paying it forward and gratitude in action. Every contribution, large or small, helps sustain the kind of hands-on, practical, real work that you yourselves benefited from. But beyond money, your voices matter, your stories matter, your networks matter, and you can support the campaign by sharing it, by speaking about what ISOC has meant to you, by inviting others to contribute, by reminding the world that the internet we have today exists because people chose to defend it, to shape it, and to nurture it. So I'm not only thanking you for what you've done, I'm inviting you to do what you've always done, to step forward, stand up, and act in service of a bigger vision. For now, I'll close before I hand over to my colleague Kathleen. I'm asking that you be part of this accessible internet and by making contributions to help sustain the kind of hands-on practical work that you benefited from as an alumni. The internet is not optional. Its future is not guaranteed, but together, it is still something we can protect, improve, and pass on stronger than we found it. I want to thank you for your commitment and leadership, and thank you in advance for standing with the internet in this campaign for the internet and for everyone. Kathleen will tell you more about how your contributions can help to shape the internet of the future. Over to you, Kathleen.
Thank you so much, Funke, for that very meaningful overview on the work. And I'm excited to share some of the projects that move our hearts as we listen to and support the Internet Society with their projects. Expanding community access in places where internet service providers don't reach. This could be rural communities worldwide, including Zimbabwe, connecting schools, homes, helping a mom work from home or continue to work when a child is sick, or even just connecting so that the education materials that are accessible on the internet reach these communities. And then even expanding access. So let's say one of the examples I personally really love hearing about is when an internet undersea cable is cut and access for an entire country is cut off. The Internet Society has gone in funding the ability to stand up what's called an internet exchange point so that the in-country access continues. And that could account for as much as 80% of the internet traffic, and it keeps it local. So it's extremely meaningful projects where these funds support. With that, it's also defending core internet technologies, and this is through open standards work, which I have the honor to regularly participate in, and anyone can participate in through the IETF. And these are things like encryption and supporting open standards. But the Internet Society goes beyond that in terms of lobbying and helping to ensure this type of access worldwide, because the rules do vary, and the interest is to make sure that the internet is accessible for everyone. Training local experts is another key area. So when the Internet Society funds a particular effort, it must be sustainable. That is part of the mission. They don't just go in and enable something and walk away. It's sustainable by the local community, creating opportunities beyond just the internet access, but to maintain it and have people grow in many different ways as a result. So the Internet Society both builds and defends infrastructure. They don't just advocate. So this provides some real world examples of each of those, including that advocacy aspect and the hands-on sponsorship of these really incredible projects. So with the campaign, it's super important for the Internet Society to achieve goals so that this impact can continue and grow. And that's why we're reaching out to you, not just for your individual support, but for you to also help and gain support from others through these initiatives and make people aware of the work of the Internet Society. And I think that's a major gap that I'm astounded by every day. People don't understand the work of the Internet Society, and it's up to those of us who do participate to spread the information on this good work. The internet wouldn't be accessible, working, and growing without the Internet Society. So it's hugely impactful, which is why it's such an honor for myself and Funke and others to serve as trustees, but also in any role within the Internet Society or the IETF and supporting organizations. Gifts are meaningful at every single level. $15 can help with digital safety for families. I have a child, so I know this is something that is very important. And anyone with a child or niece or nephew, neighbor, and you understand this important. We need to make sure of digital safety for families. $47 can help train future internet advocates. So how can you become a voice? These small amounts add up. $92 can help support community-built networks. Right, so those rural communities gaining access to the internet for such a small amount. And $128 can help defend encryption. And this is critical because privacy on the internet, especially in some regions, is essential so that people can freely access content without constraints and have that content available and learn. It could be simple health information that is vital to a family member. The other really a great part about giving right now, Vintsurf is matching donations for up to $25,000. So let's make sure he spends that money.
Thank you so much to both of you. And also special thank you to the work that both of you do as trustees and helping the Internet Society move through all of the interesting times the internet is in. Thank you so much for being here. And as I said, every gift is matched by Vintsurf. And if you're interested in just learning more about Vintsurf, another reason to check out Internet Changemakers, the podcast. He was our first guest, and he goes through his history and what he wants to see in the future leaders of the internet, aka everyone on this call. Both Funke and Kathleen both mentioned also the importance of training local leaders and training people in their local context. And that is a perfect segue to my next speaker. Richard is one of our tutors at the Internet Society, and he is an amazing example of what it looks like to work with local communities and train them and scale all of this capacity building. So I welcome Richard.
Okay, thank you so much for giving me this time, and I want to thank the other speakers that speak before me. As you said, my name is Richard Buregeya. I'm based in Rwanda, in East Africa. And as you said, I'm an ISOC tutor. I'm based in Kigali. Has impacted a lot in our local community. Me, myself, accept what is, I think what Claire has projected is I'm an instructor at the university, and then based on that, we usually have challenges in in academia in general. Rwanda is a developing country. We usually have problems or challenges in between the theory part and practical part, where our students usually we give them more of theory knowledge, but you don't have a hands-on skills that can change their technical expertise. With ISOC, because the ISOC courses, most of them, they have the practical part. Because me, I'm doing network operations 1 and 2 mainly, and which are more practical in terms of hands-on. These courses has improved a lot in terms of the technical skills in our local community. Let's say this year we have trained close to 2,300 students, but some of them, they have shared the impact stories of how these courses help them to get jobs, because what the employers are looking for, there are many looking for the people with technical expertise. That we had a gap where the ISOC courses fill that gap in allowing the learners or the student to have that technical expertise. Because I think we have received close to 100 or below that, between 80 and 100 of the testimonies of students that these courses have improved their lives. Then another thing I can speak about is we, as the developing country, what we are looking for mainly is internet access, the digital literacy, because the ISOC is improving a lot to us, because most of our local communities, they don't have even the basic knowledge to use internet. I think if we keep this, as my colleague Kathleen was talking about, the grants to see how we can increase the funds to train more learners, more students, more people. This is going to change the lives of people, I'm telling you, because me, technically, I have seen how these courses have improved the lives of people here in Rwanda. I think, Claire, that's what I can highlight about the experience and the impact. And then what probably I can talk about is experience as a tutor. I'm privileged to see the people changing lives because of ISOC. We give thanks to ISOC because we have seen the lives of learners, of young people, young women, young men here in Rwanda, improving lives of people. Trust me. We thank ISOC, and we want this to increase the number of learners, increase the number of the future internet advocates. We see how we can expand the reach. I think that's what I can speak about, but I'm here for any questions.
Thank you, Richard. And as Richard said, I could sing his praises for days. He does so much of the work that allows us to actually scale. And that is one of the brilliant parts of the Alumni Network, is we have people doing all kinds of work, whether it's in a local community like Richard, or we have people in governing bodies or working in the courts. So we have people doing all types of work. And Richard, thank you for everything you do.
You're welcome.
So now my favorite part, which is hard because it's all tied for first, is recognizing alumni. We've had alumni go above and beyond this year. And I want to take a moment to really give a collective round of applause to everyone who really went above and beyond, did more than they were asked, did more than they needed to, simply because they saw an opportunity to benefit the Internet Society, benefit themselves, or benefit the internet. So the first one I would like to do is the alumni podcast team. And yes, that is a working QR code for the podcast if you would, for some reason, like to subscribe. And I would like to highlight the podcast team. This has been a huge push for the past year. Our two hosts, Noha and Yog, and our producers, Abdurrahman, Alan, and Kim. They've done a lot of work, and I just want to give them a nice big clap for all of that. And on top of that, we have had alumni who were also guests. I think there was a editing issue, and not all of them are bolded, but they are all important. Everton, Alan, Cedric, Anant, and Kim all donated their time and expertise to share not only their knowledge, but also all of the amazing impact stories they have regarding their expertise and came on the podcast to tell us. So thank you for that. We also have active tutors. So as you just heard from Richard, we have people who teach local communities and help tutor. And these 6 individuals tutored the most this past year. And I want to give them, as I said before, another round of applause, because this is really important work and they all take time out of their personal lives, day jobs, to make sure that people around their local community have the tools and the skills they need to be able to enable a safe and accessible internet experience. Big round of applause for all of the tutors. I would also like to highlight some of our most active alumni. So these are people who came and they mentored, they came to events, they spoke at events, they reached out when they needed help, and they responded to us when we needed help. And of course, there's many alumni that did it, but these are folks that I feel really went above and beyond in terms of attending and participating and making sure that the younger generation has people who are willing to pull them up in both confidence and skill. Congratulations to all of these people. And then also we have, as I said earlier, we have people working with the Internet Society staff on important projects. So people who are working on the Internet Hall of Fame bios, and then also WISA's working teams. Wanted to make sure that you get your flowers. You've all worked very hard to make sure that things are coming out beautifully, and they are. So thank you for your work. And now, as we only have 3 minutes left of this event, how did it go so fast? Looking forward to 2026. So we've done all of this amazing work this past year. What can you look forward to for next year? And really what I have to say in very simple terms is you shared and we listened. Feedback is so important. I will sing it from the mountaintops anytime someone gives me the opportunity, because feedback allows us to develop something that works for you. And that's really what we want here. So of the feedback that we received, these are the big 3 that we are acting on next year. We're doing more coffee chats. I mean, who had fun today in these breakout rooms? Who wished they had more than 5 minutes? Me too. So yeah, we're going to be doing more of that. We're going to find ways to not only allow me to talk to you more, but allow you to talk to each other more, which is so much more important. Secondly, we're going to be doing more regional activities. We heard people share that while they love having these workshops, they really want an opportunity to speak to people in their region about topics that are region specific. There are challenges that happen in APAC that also happen in LAC, but the fixes are different sometimes. So people want to have an opportunity to be with people from their region so they can talk about region-specific solutions to some of their biggest challenges. And lastly, people really like having opportunity shared with them. And we have a lot of partners, we have a lot of organizations, and we have people who are in the alumni network who work at organizations that are sharing fellowships, people who are sharing jobs, all of these kinds of things. And when these opportunities arise, they come across my desk, I will always share them in the LinkedIn group. And thank you to everyone who has shared with me opportunities to put there. I find that they are widely received pretty well. And that is one thing that I can do to make sure that you all feel like you're getting the resources you need to continue on your internet leadership journey. And on that note, thank you so much for everyone joining us. You're here for an hour and 15 minutes of chat and impact and recognition. And I'm so grateful that everyone took time out of their busy day to come and join us. And I hope to see you all again next year.